Today we're joined by Tav, our brand and PR marketing manager, who's just returned from trekking in Bhutan, one of the world's most remarkable and least visited Himalayan destinations. She took on the Druk Path Trek, a classic route linking Paro and, how do you say it again? Thimphu, so you're the expert.
Or Thimphu.
yeah. Through mountain passes, lakes and ancient monasteries. So we'll be finding out what makes trekking Bhutan such a unique experience and how it compares to other Himalayan adventures. Bhutan isn't a place that many people have been to. Can you tell me what your first impressions are when you arrived?
Well, the first impressions when I landed was just how incredibly green the country was, because it is just covered in forest. It's about at least 70 to 80% is covered in forest, which is one of the reasons, obviously, why it is a carbon neutral country. When you actually fly in, it's really, really forested, and it's just very, very calm, colourful and peaceful when you land. Paro Airport is really quite small, so when you get off, you're greeted with this beautifully architectural building which is beautifully designed, and then you walk outside and there's just like queues of men in their traditional go meeting you, all bowing their heads and kuzuzang pala, which means hello, and they're all very humble and everything. So when you first land, it's just very peaceful and very colourful.
Yeah. And then how does it feel different from other Himalayan countries?
It does when you've spent the night in Kathmandu, especially, because anyone who's been to Kathmandu knows it's quite a crazy city.
Mm-hmm.
The other Himalayan countries I've travelled to, never been to Pakistan, but I have been to India and have been to Nepal.
Yeah.
I would say that the nice thing about Bhutan is very, very different in respect that it doesn't seem to be that kind of crazy bustle going on, which some people love, obviously, in Delhi and Kathmandu and in other parts. But Bhutan just felt very, very heartwarming and really welcoming in comparison. I mean, yeah, they are really, the people are really welcoming and stuff in Nepal and obviously in India, but in Bhutan they just felt very safe.
Yeah.
So as a female solo traveller in Bhutan, I felt incredibly safe when I arrived there. I thought it was, very different in some respects.
Let's talk about the trek. What was the experience like day to day?
Well, where do I start? So this particular trek, the Druk Path Trek, is an old trading route that goes across, like sort of a circuit that goes all the way from Paro right through to Thimphu. And it takes about 5 days to do it. Some people do it shorter, some longer, but the majority of people do it in 5 days, and it's a camping trek. And it starts really around about 3,000 metres, 2,800 I think we started at. It goes up as high as 4,200 and then comes back down again to Thimphu, which is 2,300. So you spend a little bit of time at that sort of altitude, but it's very remote. We didn't see anyone else on the trek, no other trekkers at all. So no groups from any other companies, which was really nice. It's very green. You are in the tree line and in the forest, so you work your way up through the kind of the fir forests, and then you've got the big rhododendron forests, which obviously in spring would just blanket the whole mountainside in colour, up until you actually sort of get to slightly higher altitude where you come out of the tree line, and then obviously you've got that lovely Himalayan views of those big mountains, which was really spectacular. So the trek itself was just a really, really lovely trek. It was challenging, but not too challenging. It wasn't easy underfoot, I would say, in respect that it's quite rocky in areas, quite wet in areas, so we recommend wearing gaiters because it was quite muddy in some places, and some steep sections as well. But it was challenging but achievable for most sort of fit people. Yeah. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Quite frankly. So I think, I did take that, make a note saying, poles really are handy. Yeah. I wouldn't have wanted to be without mine. And it was the general sort of day-to-day really was 6:30 was your bed tea, 6:45 they'd bring you a bottle of water, which recommend taking a flannel and a little bit of soap because that was really nice and refreshing. Breakfast was normally about 7:30, and then you would go off on your trek for the day, getting back into camp at around about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. But just leisurely, slow-paced walking, enjoying the views, and just trekking through sort of the wilds of the hills, which was really fabulous.
So it sounds like the terrain itself wasn't too challenging, but did you find the altitude to be challenging at all?
Some people more than others. I drank a lot of water, so one of the things I was really glad I'd taken for this trip was my hydration pack. Because sometimes if you go to high altitude, it can freeze with the temperature. But I had my hydration pack, so I drank a lot. I probably drank at least 3 to 4 litres of water during the trekking day, and I think that made a massive difference. So I didn't really suffer too badly. Plus, I took Diamox from 3,000 meters as well, which we can recommend to people who were worried about suffering from altitude sickness. So I didn't. It slows down your pace. I don't mind that because I'm a bit of a slow trekker anyway. But it is definitely achievable by anybody who could do like a multi-day walk in Keswick, in the Lake District.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was there a section of the route that you would say was your favourite?
Definitely day 3, I think, of the trek. It was one of those days where I didn't want it to end. Yeah. And it was just, we had great weather on that day as well, so we could see all of the big peaks in the distance. But we trekked from a place called Jiangchu La to Jimalangsao Lake. So we went from sort of 3,800 metres up to about 4,000 and then back down again to about 3,006. So we actually camped slightly lower on that day, which was nice, obviously, from a breathing point of view from the altitude. But it was just a beautiful, beautiful trek. You sort of came out the trees, walked along a big, long ridge line. You could see Gang Nimsum in the distance. You could see Masangang. We got our first views of Jomalhari. It was just a really beautiful walk on that particular day. And again, we didn't see anybody. And then in the distance, when you get to the ridgeline, in the distance, you can see the lake down, Jimalangsao Lake, sort of tucked into nestled in the valley, surrounded by the hillsides. And you can see where you're going, and it was stunning, just stunning. And a little bit of a steep descent, but that only went for a short time. But,
properly unforgettable.
That was probably my favourite day, I think, on the actual trek itself. And that was the first day we woke up to a little bit of ice on the tent as well, which I always find very exciting.
Yeah. Talking about tents, what was the accommodation/camping experience like?
The camping was very obviously like luxurious compared to some of the other camping that I've done on some treks. I mean, the sleeping mats were quite thick, that they were carried by the ponies. I had my own tent. I was quite lucky. Other people shared, but they were big, sort of pyramid tents, plenty of space. They were really, really well insulated is not the right word, but they were very thick with a big thick ground sheet, so no almost like you can keep the cold outside and the warmth in kind of thing. But they were very spacious, very comfortable. So the camping wise, great, absolutely fabulous. Big mess tent and big kitchen tent. And the hotels, which were not on trek, but they were part of the cultural side of it, they were all lovely. We had 4 different hotels, one which you go back to. They're modern but very Bhutanese, very clean, have all the facilities that you need, balconies to overlook the valleys. I mean, they're really lovely. And there was one particular that we stayed at in Paro, which was really traditional Bhutanese place, which we just all really fell in love with. That's probably our favourite one. But just a note that they do sometimes change the hotels depending on group sizes and the availability.
That makes sense.
But the ones we stayed in were spot on. Absolutely lovely.
So one of the things that makes Bhutan truly special is its culture and spiritual heritage. You visited the iconic Tigers Nest Monastery. What was it like to see it up close?
It was really amazing. It was definitely one of my highlights, one of the things I was looking forward to the most when I was actually going out on that trip. I mean, the Tigers Nest, also known as Paro Saksang, is built into the hillside, which you can actually see from when you're down in Paro at the start, and we could see from our hotel as well, but it's tucked where you can't sort of, doesn't really stand out, but you can just see it. And then as you start hiking up to it, it becomes more obvious, and it is literally just kind of built into that hillside. And I think it was built in like 1962, and it was basically built around a cave that a saint called Guru Rinpoche, I'll say that again, Guru Rinpoche, I think is how you say his name, who is the saint who introduced Buddhism to Bhutan.
Okay.
He's said to have meditated in this cave for 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 hours. And they basically built the whole of the Tigers Nest around this. So there's 4 temples there. We visited 2 of them. But it is just a really stunning monastery, and the trek up there is a really rewarding trek. It is quite tough. I actually think it's probably, for me, it was probably one of the toughest days trekking, because you are trekking up for about 5 hours. There is a cafe en route, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's one that's got glass windows all the way around, so you can get amazing views. But it's relatively challenging trek on the way up. Poles, boots essential, with a cafe stop sort of halfway. Then lots and lots of steps, about 1,400 steps sort of down and up to the monastery. But it is spectacular. And the view when you're standing on one of the terraces by the monastery, looking down the valley into Paro, is just amazing. Just complete dense forest all the way around, and you've just got Paro in front of you. But the monastery is beautiful, and it was fully restored after a fire, I believe, in the early 2000th century, and then it's all been restored using authentic materials. But yeah, it was definitely a massive highlight of the trip. Definitely, everyone has to do it. You can't go to Bhutan and not go to Tigers.
It'd just be rude. And you also experienced some of Bhutan's traditional festivals. What was it like to witness them firsthand as well?
I didn't really know what to expect, because having never been to one, I'd seen photos, I've seen video in the past, although very little video actually, because there's not much. You have to be very respectful in Bhutan. I think it is modernising now, since the introduction of TV and Wi-Fi and things in the last 25 years, but it is still, you just have to be very respectful on where you're taking your pictures and who you're taking your pictures of. So there isn't a great deal out there that you can actually see before you go. So I didn't really know what to expect. But my first impression when we went to the one in Thimphu, which is the largest Buddhist festival in Bhutan, and we went into, I don't know exactly how you say it, but it's like the Tashisho Dzong, which is like the huge big fortress in Thimphu, and it's magnificent. And you sort of walk into, I guess you would call it like a big, huge courtyard area, where you've got like the monastery on the left and the big courtyard, and it's just colour, an abundance of colour, and the noise and the sounds from the gongs that are going off with all the music it's quite gets your soul. Do you know what I mean? It kind of like it's a really magnificent sight. There's loads of families, everyone's there in their traditional dress, so they're all wearing the best of the best, the Sunday best. And they're wearing kiras and gos that have been passed down through family generations. And families are there with their babies and everyone's admiring all of the mask dancing, and they're all going for blessings, etc. So it is a really unique sight. I've never ever experienced anything like it. We were there for a couple of hours over a period of 2 days, and it was. I didn't know what was going on. But it was a very spiritual effect.
It felt special to be there.
Oh, really special. Really, really special. It's definitely something that's really unique to do. Yeah, totally.
And then how did you feel that these like cultural experiences, did they like complement the trekking? Do you feel like it was like a holiday of 2 halves, or did it feel to all tie in together? Or
it did feel like a little bit like 2 halves, but I didn't mind that at all. It was like, this is the cultural side, and then this is the trekking side. It does make it a little bit harder to pack.
Yes.
Because you have to think about everything. But don't worry about that, because I'm going to do a packing list.
Nice, perfect.
But I would say it gives you a much better understanding of the Bhutanese culture and the life that Bhutanese people live, basically. And just what a spiritual nation it is. There is nowhere like it. Totally not,
Brilliant. So Bhutan is one of our big bucket list dream destinations for a lot of people. What kind of traveller do you think this would be perfect for?
I think it's perfect for somebody who is looking for a combination, a bit of culture and a bit of trekking, looking for a trek that's not too hard, because it's a grade 4, It has got tough days though. Don't get me wrong. There
Yeah.
are tough sections of it. It's not a walk in the park. But I would say it is a perfect grade 4 when you look at the fact it is only 5 days that you're trekking for. Somebody who wants to get those Himalayan views and see the big mountains, but doesn't necessarily have an urge to be right up close with them, because you do see them, but they are in the distance. They're not, right there. Someone who wants something that's really remote, so you literally don't see anyone while you're trekking. It's very, very quiet. It's lovely. You have the place to yourself. I mean, our campsites, there was no one else in our campsite. And basically just somebody who is just looking for a really unique experience. Probably someone who's maybe spent some time, maybe done a Himalaya trek before in Nepal, or they've maybe been out there before, but they just want a more spiritual aspect to it. And Bhutan's a really great place to go for that. Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to pick your brains a bit and ask for some practical tips.
Yeah.
So first up, was there any kit that you took with you that you felt you couldn't have lived without?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of things. Well, there's quite a lot of things, but that's just me. But no, I think there's a couple of things. The main thing really, I would say, don't go without poles on this trek. There was 1 or 2 people who did. They were okay because they were strong and fit. Secretly, I think they wish they had got them, and I know one lady wished she'd got hers. But there are sections of it which are quite steep up and down, particularly on the last day. You do quite a lot of descent, so if you do suffer with your hips or your knees in any way whatsoever, you definitely need your poles. Then, and generally underfoot, you can be sort of stepping over rocks, so your poles are really handy to kind of put down and help direct you so that you don't because it can be a bit wet and muddy in places. Bhutan is renowned for a little bit of rain, dare I say. Hydration pack for me was a bit of a godsend. I definitely drank a lot more water than everyone else because I had it. I had a Nalgene bottle and my hydration pack just in case it did freeze. It didn't freeze. It got very cold 2 nights, but it didn't freeze. And I found it really useful with my Nalgene bottle, which I wrap in a bit of like old roll mat or fleece and then kind of wrap it with duct tape. And then I fill it with boiled water the night before from the kettle in the room, use it as a hot water bottle. And the next day it's cooled down, pour that into my hydration pack. So it does save on bottles. Like if they ever do give you plastic bottles or something like that, then you don't need to use that. So I found that really useful. As a lady in Bhutan, really handy to have a long skirt. You just kind of wear it to everything, dinner, but gosh, I'm trying to think what other things we do now, but all the things when you're not trekking, basically, when you're visiting, using a nice long shirt, nice long skirt, or long pair of comfortable trousers, and my little ballet shoes were very handy, because they pack really small. And another little tip for the ladies, for the camping side of it, is take a little pee bottle with you. Very handy in the tent at night.
Nice, perfect.
Another thing I made a little note of is the sit mat's really handy here. Because the ground can be quite damp. And although you do stop quite regularly for your lunches where there are like a seated area or there are some like sort of wooden tree stumps and things, there was 1 or 2 stops where we were actually sitting on the ground. Or just like perched on a stone or something, and actually your sit mat was really handy. But I also found my sit mat was really handy in the mess tent at night, because the camping chairs, anyone who's sat on just a normal camping chair, you can get quite a cold bottom. So you put your sit mat on
add insulation.
Exactly. So that was really handy as well.
Perfect. And then, is there anything you wish you'd known before you went?
Well, as I mentioned before, there's not a lot really about Bhutan that's available on like YouTube. I mean, there are lots of things out there, but not as much as I was expecting. You know, if you looked at Nepal, Everest Base Camp, for example, there is just an abundance of stuff. Everyone's done a blog, everyone's done a video. That is not the case for Bhutan at all. So I think that maybe one thing that I want to try and do for my trip is a lot of informative videos and blogs for people to look at, so that there is a bit more. But I think maybe I'd like to have learned a little bit more maybe about Buddhism before I went. The leaders and everybody over there, obviously majority Buddhist, and they tell you an awful lot about the Buddhist way, and it would have been nicer to have had maybe a little bit more understanding of that. But not really, no. I mean, I think I just wanted to arrive
Yeah.
and just have the surprise and
Yeah.
learn as I went along. I learned a lot when I was there.
Yeah.
No, it's so
I suppose the
fascinating.
benefit of it being guided is if you go and you don't know things, you
Yeah.
are literally being guided through the holiday,
Yeah.
so you get that support
Yeah.
there.
Well, that is the thing about Bhutan, is the fact that you can't travel around without a guide.
Yeah.
So independent travel in Bhutan is not allowed at the moment. You have to be with a guide. That may change in the future, but certainly at the moment you have to have a guide. So you are totally looked after from the
Yeah.
minute you arrive till the minute you go. But there was lots of little things that I learned, which, for example, like, tourists aren't allowed to hire cars.
Okay,
So unless you are Bhutanese, you're not allowed to drive in Bhutan and things like that. But they do, just tell you everything you need to know. Every museum has
Yeah.
a story. Every song has history and meaning. And the great thing about the leaders is, of course, they can tell you all about that.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot. I came back much more knowledgeable
Yeah.
before I went.
Amazing. So, well, thank you for sharing your Bhutan experience with us, Tav.
Right?
It really sounds like one of those once in a lifetime adventures.
Yeah.
That has a bit of everything. And then, if you'd like to find out more about our Druk Path Trek in Bhutan, including departure dates and details, you can head over to keyadventure.com, or you can leave a comment for Tav, who I'm sure will be more than happy to respond.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.